As I was walking down the apartment hallway, yawning after a long day at work, I suddenly felt a hand grab my arm from the neighboring apartment's entrance. Startled and confused, I screamed as I was unexpectedly pulled into my neighbor's place. "What on earth are you doing?" "I'm going to call the cops," I shouted, glaring at Mr. Johnson, who had dragged me inside. "I'm sorry, but I had no other choice," Mr. Johnson blurted out, his voice tinged with urgency. Growing increasingly suspicious, I shook off his grip and continued to glare at him. "You're up to something, aren't you?" I demanded, feeling a rising sense of panic. "Please, calm down," he pleaded. But how could I stay calm in this situation? The words that followed sent a chill down my spine. "Let me introduce myself. My name is Luna, a 24-year-old working at a well-known trading company that any American would recognize. My job is incredibly demanding, but I relish the joy of earning my own money and living alone in a city apartment. I've always yearned for the freedom to make my own decisions because, as far back as I can remember, I never received an allowance. Raised by a single mother, she struggled to provide for me, so it seemed understandable that there wasn't extra money for an allowance. My mom worked nights and was quite popular at her job, so she must have had a reasonable income. Yet she never gave me a cent because, as society might label her, she was a toxic parent. I started living alone to escape her control. The town where I was born and raised is located outside the suburbs of New York City, so remote that it feels presumptuous to claim I'm from New York. Although it's now a popular community near the station, my childhood home was far from the nearest station, making life difficult without a car or bus. I lived under the constant watch of my mother in this town, neither urban nor rural. She had me at 18 and was abandoned by my dad, raising me single-handedly. I should be grateful for her efforts, but my resentment towards the numerous restrictions she imposed on me far outweighed any desire to thank her. As a kid, I never questioned it, but by elementary school, I started to feel something was off. "Mom, Monday gets an allowance of $20 every month. I want an allowance too. There's a comic book I want to buy," I said for the first time, asking my mom for something. She frowned at my words, then quickly furrowed her brows in a show of sympathy. "Having money might get you into trouble with bad people. Besides, I'll buy you anything you want. No need for an allowance," she said, patting my head as if to reassure me. I wasn't convinced, but hearing her promise to buy me anything made me think, well, if that's the case, I guess it's okay, and I resigned myself to it. But her words were empty promises. No matter how much I pleaded for the latest games everyone was playing or the trendy comics, she never bought me a single thing I wanted. Birthdays and Christmases were filled with educational books, leaving me disappointed. Yet I couldn't dare to ask her repeatedly due to her intense pressure. She never hit me, but controlled me mentally with, "I'm worried about you," even in elementary school. I realized my mom was different from my friends' parents. Every day, I desperately thought of ways to escape her control. As I moved through middle and high school, her grip on me tightened. Not only did she refuse to give me an allowance, but I also had to report and get permission for everything, whether it was hanging out with friends or going on dates with a boy I liked. Once, after sneaking out at night to meet my boyfriend, I was met the next morning by my mother's furious face. "You're going without meals for the next 3 days," she declared. Without an allowance, I couldn't even buy food outside. I was too embarrassed to let my friends or boyfriend know that I had a toxic mom, so I couldn't bring myself to ask them to treat me to something as simple as a snack from the gas station. After 3 days of hunger, my boyfriend, understandably worried, came to me and asked, "Are you okay?" I couldn't hold back my tears at his kind words and finally opened up to him about my mother. I'll never forget the look of shock on his face when he heard about her. At the time he sympathized with me, saying, "That's tough." But soon after, he started avoiding me. Without even a smartphone, I couldn't contact him. 2 weeks after we stopped seeing each other, I overheard him talking to his friends in the school hallway. "Her mom seems like a real piece of work. I don't want to deal with that. She's not bad, but she's just too desperate." "It's kind of scary," he said. Hearing him talk about me, I realized he felt bothered by my mom's toxicity. Rather than wanting to protect me, he felt alienated. Overwhelmed with frustration and tears, I quietly slipped away to a corner of the hallway, unnoticed by him. It was over between us. Even though I still had feelings for him, I was forced to abruptly end my relationship with him, filled with anger towards my mom. When I got home, I lashed out at her. "Why do you have to control me like this? Because of you, my boyfriend left me." It wasn't just him, my friends, too, realized how abnormal my mom was and started distancing themselves from me. I felt I had to vent this frustration at my mom, or I couldn't hold myself together. To my dismay, my mom seemed pleased when she learned about the breakup. "Well, that's good. It's actually lucky that your boyfriend left. It's a waste of time to spend it on some unknown guy. You have infinite possibilities ahead of you," she said in a self-indulgent tone. Hearing her response, I felt a deep despair. This parent could never understand my feelings. Not just my feelings, but even common sense didn't apply to her. She had her own unshakable sense of righteousness and despised anything that threatened it. Controlling my life according to her wishes was her reason for living. Unable to contain myself and feeling dizzy, I rushed up to my room on the second floor. Once I closed the door, I lay on my bed and cried. "Luna, what's wrong? Aren't you eating dinner?" My mother's seemingly concerned voice weighed heavier on my chest than any punishment. "I don't need it," I replied, wishing I had a lock on my door. But my mother, who found joy in controlling me, would never allow me that small freedom, leaving me utterly dejected as I stifled my sobs. After graduating high school, I had vowed to live alone once I became a college student. I channeled my frustration into determination, studying for exams as if it were my revenge. Since then, I studied desperately and secretly started a part-time job behind my mother's back. I realized I needed to earn money to live independently when I became a college student. I needed my guardian's consent for the job, but I managed to fake the signature and got away with it. I worked diligently in my studies to obtain scholarships, focusing solely on part-time work and academics. Somehow, I managed to slip into the acceptance range of a public university in New York, which was my goal. When I finally decided to inform my mother about my mock exam results and university choice, she smiled sweetly and said, "You've worked hard on your studies. That's great. With these grades, you can easily get into M University." M University was a public university in the neighboring town. If I attended that university, there was no chance I'd be allowed to live on my own, as it was just a 20-minute commute from home. Despite my choice of a university in New York, my mother had been pushing a completely different option in the neighboring town. This left me feeling dizzy. She was still trying to control me even as I was about to become a college student. I hated that idea. "No, I'm not going to M University. I want to go to our university," I insisted. My mother's face twisted, and in a stern tone she said, "What are you talking about? Our university isn't right for you. Besides, what if you don't get in? I won't allow anything but M University." Her firm words felt like a final attempt to suppress me. Frustrated and unable to hold back my tears, I turned my back on her and ran up to my room on the second floor. In the end, even as a college student, I couldn't escape my mother's control. All my efforts felt in vain. Balancing exam preparation and part-time work was incredibly tough, and despite sacrificing sleep and working tirelessly to achieve good grades, it all seemed unnecessary now. I could probably get into M University without any further study. I was so frustrated that I couldn't sleep well that night. In the end, I took the entrance exam for M University and, as expected, got in. I spent the rest of my high school days like a zombie. Before I knew it, I was a college student. "Congratulations on your admission. Here, this is your celebration gift," my mother said as I prepared for college with a vacant look. She handed me a smartphone. "Really? Is this for me?" I asked, surprised. "Of course," she replied. "I've been saving money for this day. Now you can use it to your heart's content." I couldn't believe my ears. My mother, who had never given me freedom before, was now presenting me with a smartphone. It was an unexpected gesture from someone who had always been controlling. Holding the phone in my hand felt like I had been given wings to fly far away. With the smartphone, I embraced my newfound freedom and thoroughly enjoyed my college life. I made new friends and was thrilled to communicate with them normally. While savoring the experience of college, I also seriously considered my future. Instead of joining clubs or sports teams, I participated in student organizations and volunteer activities, applying what I learned in these experiences to my job search. I secured a position at one of the most famous trading companies in the States, located in New York. Finally, I could live independently as a working adult. My mother smiled and congratulated me on my new job, presenting me with a wallet worth $2,000 as a gift. Over the past few years, her control over me had loosened considerably. I genuinely thanked her, saying, "Thank you for everything." Although there had been many times when I felt resentful and struggled to feel grateful, I thought it best to express my gratitude as I prepared to live apart from her. "It's nothing. Just take care and do your best," she replied. I didn't question why she was so willing to let me go, given her recent change in attitude. In hindsight, I should have been more suspicious. It should have been clear that my mother wouldn't let me go so easily. I ended up living alone in a town near the center of New York City. The rent was quite high, but thanks to my company's housing allowance, my personal expense was only about $600 a month. It wasn't a large apartment building, so I quickly learned to recognize the faces of the residents as we passed by each other. I lived in a corner room on the third floor, and next door was a man named Johnson. We'd only exchanged greetings in passing. He seemed about 5 years older than me, with a slender build and a kind demeanor. In New York, neighborly interactions are usually indifferent, so beyond a simple hello, I never really spoke with Johnson. Nonetheless, I felt relieved because he didn't seem like a strange person. I didn't tell my mother about my apartment. If I had, I wouldn't know when she might show up unannounced. So I simply told her, "I'll be back soon," and kept my address a secret. She seemed a bit down, but quickly accepted it, saying, "Well, that's fine." Despite this, my mother frequently called or texted me. Often, while I was focused on my computer at work, I would receive calls from her. "I'm working right now, please don't call," I would say. "Oh, really? A short call should be fine, right?" she'd reply. "No, it's not okay," I'd respond, unable to hide my irritation at her laid-back tone. The job at the trading company was demanding, with seniors always bustling around the office. In such an environment, being seen making personal calls on my smartphone would draw disapproving looks from colleagues. "Oh, that's too bad. I'll call again later," she'd say dismissively. I felt exasperated by her nonchalant response, which felt like trying to push through a beaded curtain. The job was exhausting, but honestly, her constant calls were even more draining. And it wasn't just calls, she kept sending messages. Once, I realized I had 100 unread notifications, and a chill ran down my spine. "What's wrong?" a concerned colleague asked, noticing my strained expression. "It's nothing," I replied, maintaining my composure and continuing with my work. 2 years passed like this, and I turned 24. Even though it was only my second year at the company, my salary was incredibly high, and I felt a deep joy in being able to earn so much money on my own. Gradually, I adjusted to my new life and responsibilities. I became increasingly absorbed in my work, often ignoring calls from my mother. Since I hadn't shared my new address with her, there was no chance of running into her unless I went home. As a result, her presence slowly faded from my life, and I began to feel like I was truly living on my own. One evening, after having drinks with colleagues, I was more tipsy than usual. It was around 10 p.m. when I reached the third floor of my apartment building, staggering slightly towards my corner room. "Another long day at work," I mumbled to myself while yawning. Suddenly, I heard a man's voice, "Luna, over here for a sec," followed by a hand grabbing my arm from the entrance of the neighboring apartment. "What there?" I cried out in confusion as I was pulled into my neighbor's place. "What on earth are you doing?" "I'm going to call the cops," I shouted, struggling. My neighbor, Mr. Johnson, quickly apologized. "Sorry, but I had no other choice." Growing more suspicious, I wrenched my arm free and glared at him. "You're planning something, aren't you?" I demanded, my voice tinged with panic. Mr. Johnson, seeing my distress, said urgently, "Please calm down." "Calm down? How can I stay calm in this situation?" I thought, but his next words made me shudder. "Actually, I saw someone break into your apartment. His serious tone sent a chill down my spine. I immediately suspected it might be a ploy to lure me into a trap. What a horrible joke. You're just trying to keep me here, right? Let me go, I said, attempting to escape his apartment. Wait, it's dangerous to go outside, Mr. Johnson said urgently. His intense tone made me hesitate, and I stopped in my tracks. Turning around, I saw him looking desperate, his eyes filled with concern. I was at a crossroads, whether to trust this man whom I barely knew or to dismiss him as a threat. Johnson's eyes were so direct and clear that they didn't seem to belong to someone who was lying. Trusting my instincts, I decided to listen. What kind of person? When did this happen? I asked, my voice trembling. Johnson seemed to sense my wavering guard and began to explain. Well, it's like this, he said. I couldn't see very well, but the person was dressed in all black, long sleeves and pants. They looked somewhat suspicious. I've seen someone like that around the complex a few times before. At first, I thought they were just another resident and didn't pay much attention, but about 3 hours ago when I came home, I saw that person entering your apartment, and that's when I realized something was wrong, Mr. Johnson explained. 3 hours ago. It's 10 p.m. now, so that would be around 7 p.m. Even so, wearing all black in July seems odd. But that's not the main concern. How could someone get into your place without a key? He continued, at first, I thought the person might be a friend or boyfriend of yours, so I didn't pay much attention. But then, when I heard you coming home and noticed someone staying alone in your apartment for 3 hours, it struck me as strange. That's when I realized this person might be dangerous, so I decided to stop you. Mr. Johnson's words left me trembling. If what he said was true, the intruder might still be hiding in my apartment. I hadn't given my keys to anyone, didn't have a boyfriend, and hadn't made any plans with friends. Ever since a troubling experience with a boyfriend in high school, I had avoided dating, so I didn't have a romantic partner. I also didn't have any close friends nearby who could be involved. Who could be breaking into my home? I wondered aloud. Luna, please calm down and listen. Have you been stalked by anyone recently? Mr. Johnson asked, trying to soothe my agitation. Stalked? No, nothing like that, I replied, struggling to recall any such incidents. But it was possible that someone had been watching me without my knowledge. Maybe you just haven't noticed, Mr. Johnson suggested. The perpetrator could have been acting this way for a while. Is there anyone, a romantic partner or someone you had an argument with, who might come to mind? I thought about the people in my life. I hadn't had any recent relationships or conflicts. Since high school, I had been avoiding romantic entanglements and men in general. No, there's no one, I said firmly. I've been steering clear of such things all this time. I couldn't think of anyone who might be the intruder. It seemed my only option was to contact the police, but I had never called 911 before and hesitated to make the report. After all, the claim of an intruder was based solely on Mr. Johnson's word. Could I really trust what he was saying? I stared at the call button on my phone, unable to press it. Seeing my hesitation, Mr. Johnson said, I'll call the police. Just then, the doorbell rang. Startled, I accidentally dropped my phone. Who could it be at this hour? Trying to steady my shaking body, I peeked through the peephole of Johnson's apartment door. To my shock, I saw the person in black clothes outside. I was speechless. What's wrong? Mr. Johnson's voice trembled too. He must have been scared as well. Swallowing hard, I replied, It's my mother. Your mother? Mr. Johnson looked bewildered. His reaction seemed anticlimactic, but for me, seeing my mother standing outside Johnson's door next to my apartment filled me with an intense fear. What's going on? Could it be that the person I mistook for a stalker was your mother? If so, I'm really sorry. That's a huge misunderstanding. I apologize, Mr. Johnson said, his face flushed with embarrassment. I shook my head. No, it's not that. It's just, I hesitated, unsure if I should reveal how toxic my mother was or that I hadn't even given her the address. Before I could explain, my mother banged on the door. Hello? Excuse me, I think my daughter is in there. Could she come out, please? My mother's loud voice echoed through the hallway, making me jump. What did she just say? My daughter is in there? How could she know that? Mr. Johnson looked just as shocked as I felt. I couldn't just do nothing, so I flung open the door. "Oh, Luna, finally found you. I've been trying to contact you, but you've been ignoring me. I just wanted to see you so badly that I came here. Aren't you coming home yet?" Seeing my mother standing there as if it were the most natural thing in the world made me feel nauseous. "Mom, how did you find out where I live? How did you know I was here?" I had so many questions. Why was she dressed in black, like a stalker? How did she know my address and whereabouts? "Oh, that's easy," she said casually. "I put GPS trackers in that smartphone and wallet." I was stunned. The smartphone and wallet were gifts from my mother, given to me on special occasions. The revelation that she had tracked me with them left me speechless. When I became a college student, I had been using the same phone and wallet for about 6 years. It dawned on me that my mother had been monitoring me all this time. A chill ran down my spine. I swallowed hard. At first, it was just a smartphone, but I sometimes left it at home. That's why I thought putting GPS trackers in both the phone and the wallet would ensure she always knew where I was. "You're my precious daughter, Luna," my mother said with a casual tone. "I have always been worried about you. What if something dangerous happened?" Her nonchalant attitude completely unraveled me. I had believed that becoming a working adult meant I had finally achieved true freedom, earning my own money and doing what I wanted when I wanted. I thought I could enjoy the basic freedoms that others took for granted, but it turned out I was merely dancing in the palm of my mother's hand all along. If this continued, my life would forever be controlled by her. I couldn't stand it any longer. My frustration boiled over. "Mom," I said in a calm voice that betrayed my inner turmoil. "Yes, what is it?" she replied, sounding as clueless as ever. "I'm never going back home again. Whenever I'm with you, I feel like I'm always being restrained. It's always been like that, hasn't it? You call me your precious daughter, your beloved daughter, but you've stifled everything I wanted to do. You've clipped my wings every time." I tried to use concern as an excuse to justify my actions each time, but it only deepened my hurt and pain. "I am not your possession, Mom. I have my own will and I don't want it tainted by anyone else. So let's cut ties. Please don't ever contact me again or come to see me." In a final outburst, I poured out all my feelings. My mother's face went pale as she heard my declaration. She must have been shocked to be defied like this, always assuming I would comply with her demands. "Cutting ties? What? Why? I'm your mother, Luna," she said, looking confused and distressed. "Look, I didn't come here to restrain you. I just thought I'd borrow some money from you. That's all." Her sudden claim about needing money was baffling. "Money? What are you talking about, Mom? Are you in debt? Were you planning to steal from your daughter who earns a lot? You never intended to borrow anything, did you? You sneaked into my apartment to steal money, didn't you?" Everything clicked into place. If she had really wanted to see me, she would have called or texted. But there had been no contact from her today. She must have planned to steal from me first, and then see me afterward. But I don't keep cash at home, and my bank books are hidden where they're not easily found. Realizing she couldn't fulfill her intention to steal, she just wanted to satisfy her desire to see me and came next door instead. I felt a wave of disgust, even considering her as my mother. "No, I just wanted to borrow a little," she stammered, panic evident in her voice. But I couldn't trust a single word she said anymore. Gathering all my strength, I shouted at her again, "Enough. A person who tries to steal from her own daughter is not a mother. Never show your face to me again. I am canceling my phone. Goodbye." Ignoring her wide-eyed expression, I turned away resolute. I forcefully shut Johnson's door, and for a while, I could hear my mother shouting, "Luna, I'm sorry. Please open the door." The neighbors, disturbed by the commotion, had called the police. I heard the sirens and the muffled arguments between my mother and the officers in the hallway. Eventually, the police managed to escort her out of the building. Exhausted, I sank to the floor. "Are you okay?" Mr. Johnson asked, concern etched on his face. "I'm sorry for involving you in this family drama because of my mother." "It's okay," I replied, grateful for his kindness. Just rest for today. Thank you. I retreated to my room, crawled into bed, and decided to sleep without thinking about anything. As my consciousness slipped into darkness, I felt a sense of relief. After that night, I took steps to distance myself from my mother. I legally separated my family register from hers, creating some distance, though I couldn't entirely sever ties with her. Removing my name from her family register felt like a small victory, a step towards escaping her control. I also threw away the smartphone and wallet she had given me, replacing them with new ones and moving to a different apartment. Naturally, I didn't share my new contact information with her. Now, she couldn't track me down. Following the incident, my mother, who had received a stern warning from the police for causing a disturbance, became reclusive. After I left home and started working, she had indulged in high-end clothing and accessories to distract herself from loneliness, accumulating significant debt in the process. Eventually, she ran out of funds and had to borrow from high-interest lenders. Now, she's plagued daily by debt collectors. I couldn't bring myself to help her. The fact that she had controlled and monitored me, using GPS, was something I could never forgive. If cutting ties with her serves as punishment, so be it. I was determined to live a life free from her control. Even after moving to my new apartment, I continued to stay in touch with Johnson. Initially, I reached out to thank him, but we kept in contact, and now we even go out for meals together. Having avoided romantic relationships with men for a long time, escaping my mother's control has made me more open to love. If things go well with Johnson, it would be an ironic twist. Thanks to my mother, I'm looking forward to building a bright future with Mr. Johnson, far from my mother's influence /.